felt strange to me that I wasn't nervous, that there wasn't that emotion or fear in my mind as to like what would happen. It was like I was so focused on just doing without any expectation, without expecting anything in return, that I didn't even think about, well, what if it goes bad? What if, what can happen to me? I didn't even consider any of that. Maybe if it would have been more widely accepted for him to open up about mental health issues, maybe he would have gotten the help he needed. Or maybe he would have just been inclined to say something to someone that would have initiated a thought process like, hey,
Hey guys, Dr. Viv here, and welcome. Today I have a special guest on. Josh Pierce is a finance sales specialist and nutrition coach based in Florida, USA. A couple of weeks ago, he donated one of his kidneys to his dad. And today we're going to be discussing his journey with the kidney donation, the impact it had on his body and body image. We're going to be discussing his brother's suicide. We're going to be discussing vulnerability, more so male vulnerability, and many more. Well, let's get started. Wow. Today I have got Josh Pierce on, and I am so excited. Josh, I remember I came across, your Instagram story about your journey with donating a kidney to your dad and what it had done to your body. Tell me about the kidney story, because it really, tell me about it.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I just want to thank you for having me on here. I'm honored to be here. I'm so happy that you stumbled across my Instagram and my story and that it resonated with you and that it caught your attention. So thanks so much for that. With the kidney donation, very, very moving part of my life, like probably the most monumental moment of my life, hands down. I'm 30 years old. Grew up with a small family. I have a younger sister, have my late brother, and then of course my parents. And my dad's health has always been, he's always been in poor health. He was a type 1 diabetic since he was 12. He had heart problems. He was diagnosed with heart disease at 38, had a pacemaker put in. Wow. And 15 to 20 years ago, he found out that he, as part of his diabetes, he was going to, or as a result of his diabetes, his organs were going to fail much sooner. So he had found out that he was first going to need a kidney transplant at some point in his life.
And he said that was 15 to 20 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. It was a long time ago. Now, because it was so far away at the time, he didn't even, it was never like a big deal. It was like, well, some point in the future, this may need to happen. And I remember when he first told me, I was probably in high school at the time, if I had to guess. And I hoped so badly that could be me, that could do that. And wow. I just, I had this, I didn't know what the situation would look like. I didn't care what the process would look like, but a part of me hoped so badly that he would ask me to do it. And it was like this sense of like, I would be so honored if he would. And then years went by and, his kidneys continued to fail until this last year, I think last spring, he found out that he was going to need it, that it was much more imminent, that he was going to need it very soon. And he asked both my sister and I if we would, go through the process to get tested, said, nothing's official, but let's go through the process and get that initiated. So that way, when the time comes, we can, we've got something in line. Otherwise he would have to go on the kidney donation list, which here in the States can be anywhere from like 5 to 8 years. And not only would he just continue his normal life for the next 5 to 8 years, but he would have had to be on dialysis that entire time. Mm-hmm. So that was something that, I've seen people on dialysis through my, I've just known people on dialysis, and that was something I never wanted to see him go through, because it literally, it drains your life. It drains your time. It's not just you, but it's someone, you have to have a companion that's taking you there and back. And it's just a huge burden on your life. And I remember basically putting my foot down and saying, whatever I need to do, I will do to make sure that he doesn't have to go through dialysis. So fast forward, went through the process, found out that I was a match. And that was probably the happiest moment of my life when I found out, like, holy crap, this is actually coming to fruition. I can finally do this deed that I've always in the back of my mind wanted to do for my dad. So February 25th was the day of the operation. And we were, we both checked ourselves into the hospital. We both were on the same floor in the hospital after the kidney donation. And that was just a very, very powerful time in my life. And I actually have a very moving story about that. And, I can tell you about the post-operation thing, when the time is right.
Yeah.
And when we were in the hospital, and, there's a very powerful story. You may have stumbled across it in my content, but that I had wanted to walk to his room so bad and see him, because, all I'm hearing is the nurses and the doctors are saying, yeah, your dad's in really good health right now. Your kidney's working very well for him. But I wanted to see that for myself. So I was so determined to walk to his room the night of. And because that's like the goal when you donate a kidney, your goal is to stand up the first and maybe walk if you can. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to walk, the 200 feet down his room. Well, I stood up, was finally ready. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it to his room. And I stood up and I just couldn't. I was so exhausted and in so much pain that I in a very frustrated manner, got back in bed and went to sleep and just kind of gave up. And it was very hard for me because I waited until I was so confident that I could make it, and I didn't. And the next morning, he walks into my room with the nurse.
Wow. So he walked over to you.
My room first. And I tell you, like, I was so shocked at what I was seeing. Like, wow. He's like, he's in good spirits. He's walking. I mean, he's got the IV tower, and he's using that to lean on. And it was just so powerful to see him do that. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, this is amazing, but I'm behind the ball now. Like, I need to, he can't be progressing faster than me. So my goal for the day was still to walk to his room. And later on that day I did. And it was very painful, very hard, but I was determined and I made it. So that was amazing. We were both in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 2 days following the surgery, and he was in the hospital for 3 days. And we were both back at home. My mom took care of us. She is a saint, let me tell you. She took care of us for the next 2 weeks. I stayed there at my parents' house. And she just ran around, tending to both of us as we were laid up on the couch and everything. So
wow,
it was very powerful process. I'm grateful, so grateful to have been healthy and in a position to give such a priceless gift like that.
Honestly, because that was one takeaway I took from, or will I say it's a big takeaway that I take from what you've said and your story, because you more or less gave a gift of life. Not many people get to do that, or many people may be scared. And to be honest, like, I can imagine a lot of people will be scared. They will have all sort of thoughts in their mind, like undergoing surgery. To be fair, like, I can imagine a lot of, I'm Black African. I can imagine a lot of a lot of us who feel like all sort of thoughts going through our minds. What were the first thoughts? I know you said you were really happy and excited. Were you scared at all through any of the process?
I wasn't. And that's something I got asked a lot. Like, aren't you nervous? And I really wasn't. I don't know that felt strange to me, that I wasn't nervous, that there wasn't that emotion or fear in my mind as to, like, what would happen. It was like I was so focused on just doing without any expectation, without expecting anything in return, that I didn't even think about, well, what if it goes bad? What if, what can happen to me? I didn't even consider any of that. And people would ask, like, aren't you nervous? And I'm thinking in my head, and I even responded like this to a few people, and it's, well, no. And I feel like if I was nervous, that would be like doubting myself. And there's no doubt that I'm going through with this. So I wasn't nervous at all leading up to it until probably the night of. Now my dad was actually in the hospital. He got checked into the hospital the Friday before, and the operation was on Monday. So that Sunday night, my mom and I were there at the hospital visiting with him, and that's when I really started to get nervous. Like, oh my gosh, like in 8 hours, I will be back here checking myself in, and then it's the real deal. So I remember the morning of, even the nurses, when they were, prepping me and getting me ready, they were like, "You're very nervous. We can tell you're nervous. Here, take this medicine, it'll calm your nerves." And I'm like, no, I'm not nervous at all. Like, I'm ready for it. Let's do this. But I really started to get nervous. And it wasn't like a fear in that, what if this doesn't go well? What if it hurts? None of that. I don't really know what was, the nerves, I think, was more of like an excitement to just get it done and be on the other side and have him healthy with a new kidney. So
Wow.
that's kind of where I was with my mindset leading into the situation.
Yeah. And I think you're really amazing, and I will say that again and again. You're really amazing, because I can also tell from your words that you love your dad, and you love your family, and you just demonstrated what unconditional love is. It's a tough thing. It's a tough situation, and I'm not sure it's an easy decision for many people to make. And you did that just like that, and you challenge us. I think you really challenge a lot of us on what love really is. And because of this, of your story, it also made me do research around kidney disease, and I realized that it is actually a global burden of disease, a big one. And I have heard stories of many people being affected, and I didn't realize how bad it can get. And I think even in the UK, one of the sites had mentioned that 30 million people are affected by kidney disease. And what I found interesting is that, as a lady of Black ethnicity, those of us of Black ethnicity, say, or actually the BAME community, so Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities, are actually 5 times more likely to experience kidney issues, because of I think there's higher risk of things like diabetes and high blood pressure in these communities. I never knew that.
Wow.
I never knew that. To know that people of BAME communities are 5 times more likely to experience kidney issues. It was really eye-opening, and I think shows how it can affect anybody, but shows how we need to pay more attention to our health in these communities, knowing that there are all these risk factors.
Absolutely. And I would just touch on that, and just kind of shed a little light on the kidney situation. So most of us, we should be born with 2 kidneys, 2 functioning kidneys.
Yeah.
Now, we only need 1 kidney to survive. So what happens when you have 2 functioning kidneys is they split the workload. So it's close to 50% with each kidney, and they filter the, I guess, your urine and all of that, but they work together. So when you only have 1 functioning kidney, it's not that you're doing, it's not that it's only doing 50% of the work. It picks up the load and eventually does 100% of the work. So if you have 2 healthy kidneys, you don't need them. And anybody is in a position to give one of their healthy kidneys, and it will not adversely affect you at all. And just that you may be at a higher risk for kidney disease in the future if you don't take care of yourself, which, okay, you may be at a high risk of anything if you do this or that. So, that was a very fair trade-off. But again, I want to just point out, like, there are certain organs you can donate as a live donor and not be affected in the long term. And I actually recently found out too that you can donate a part of your liver, and it
Really?
regenerates. Yeah, and it actually regenerates. So if you donate, I don't know how the details behind it. I'm not a doctor or surgeon or anything like that, but
Mm-mm.
my understanding is that they take a small portion of your liver and put it in, the recipient, and it will regenerate and grow to end up taking up, doing the capability of the entire workload. So very
Yeah.
cool. But the organ donation process, like you said, like you truly have the power to give someone else life. And it's, it would have been very, very selfish for me to say, no, I don't want to go through this process. I want to keep both healthy kidneys, even though I only need one, and you really need one right now. I'm not going to do that. So, it was a no-brainer for me. I didn't think twice at all about it. Never once doubted the situation. And, like I said, my father taught me everything I know about work ethic and unconditional love and, just giving without expectation. And now it was just kind of an opportunity for it to come back full circle. And, he gave me life, and now I get to turn around and give him life and,
Wow.
hopefully extend his life, several more years as a result.
Mm-mm.
So
Wow, really interesting, really interesting, and it'll be worth looking into what other organs you can give as well as a live donation. I'm going to do now. You've gotten me interested. But coming back to the kidney donation, because what I picked up on is you don't people don't need the two. We really need one to function. That's what you said. So are we saying? I mean, I'm sure there'll be people that will say, but what would I then have to give up for the future? Because you did pick up that yes, I really need one to function, but at the same time, one is at risk of future kidney disease if you don't look after yourself well. So what will you what will you need to avoid kidney disease in future? So what would you have to give up?
and I asked the doctor this, and I didn't really get a clear answer. Basically, the answer that I was told was anything that you would generally consider to be healthy, try to continue. So, things that you would consider to be unhealthy, smoking,
Mm,
abusing alcohol, just, a poor diet in general, things that can increase your blood pressure, can add additional strain to your kidney. There are so many little things that can add additional strain to your kidney. Well, you're adding all this workload to something that is only used to doing 50% of the work.
mm,
So be careful the additional load you're putting on, and even certain things like extremely high protein diets and supplements. And I know there are like drug use can affect it and stuff like that too. So I've always been I very, very careful when I say always. For the last few years, I've been very conscious of my health and the decisions I'm making in order to maximize my life anyways. So it didn't require any significant lifestyle change for me at all.
cool, cool,
And
cool.
it's the only thing that I am giving up. Well, not even really giving up. The only thing I can't do in the future is I can't give my kidney to anybody else. So a future
Or else you have none, right?
right. Exactly. So a wife, my future wife or kids someday, that's just something that I won't be able to do. So, and that was very important for me when I was giving to my father, in that, I wanted to make sure that he was going to take care of it, because I've heard horror stories of, yeah, I donated my kidney to someone and they didn't take care of it, and it kind of failed them or whatever. And I didn't want that to be the situation here. Not that I doubted that my father would take care of it, but I wanted to be so certain. And that was a very tough conversation that I had to have with him, and just, him changing his lifestyle and becoming more healthy too, to maximize that. Because the doctor could say, yeah, this should last you 12 years. Well, I don't want my father to think, okay, if I get 12 years out of it, I'm good. No, I want him to think, no, I'm going to make this last 30 years and do everything in his power to, live those 30 years. And at the end of the day, I'm 30, I don't have a wife or kids yet, but I want my father to be around when I do have kids and when they grow up. So, for me to be able to contribute to that, just extremely grateful.
Wow. You gave him the gift of a second chance.
Yeah.
Wow. We're just going to pause for a second. I'm going to show a picture of you and your dad, just for a second. Wow. Absolutely amazing. Wow. And I know you touched on, or it had it did something to you, because I remember you saying as well that you would do, if you had the chance again, you will happily do this for a stranger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a very bold statement, but yes, I absolutely would. After going through the process and seeing how simple of a process it was. I mean, like, it costed me no money out of my pocket except for the flight to get up to Chicago, where the operation was done and everything. But months later, completely unscathed. I have a couple scars from, I have 5 marks from where they had to make like small holes in my abdomen, and then they call it a bikini cut, but the incision, like a C-section incision. So that's all I have. I'm in perfect health. I can move just like I did before. I've got a little bit of strength to gain and all of that, and that's a whole different story. But I'm unscathed. I would absolutely do it again. I am pain-free, and I was pain-free a few weeks after the operation. So it was not burdensome at all. And I expected it to be so much more painful and all of that than it actually was. So absolutely, I would do it again for a family member. I would do it for you. I would do it for a stranger after going through that process and seeing that I was in pain and all of that, but it wasn't near as bad as I expected.
Wow. Wow. Let's talk about what happened after the surgery and the effects it had on your body. You've just touched on it in talking about the incisions that you and the cut you had. I want to read a quick quote of what you put on Instagram. You said, and I quote, "I've talked about the changes my body is undergoing. They are changes I wasn't initially okay with. In fact, I'm still having a hard time with them, and I'm battling with them every day." Tell me about the changes you experienced.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, very difficult time. And again, something that, it wasn't something I considered beforehand. And I knew that I was going to be removed from the gym for a couple of weeks and all of that. And just to kind of put this into context, very focused on my physical fitness. I, have tried basically my entire adult life since I graduated college for the last 7 years. My goal has been to build muscle and build this physique that is representative of my hard work and dedication and my overall perspective of how my health should be. So building muscle, building this physique, and then I'm told that I will have to be out of the gym for, at least 3 months, or, have lifting restrictions for at least 3 months. So again, it's not going to change my mind, something I just didn't really think about until after the fact. And then I'm like, the 2 weeks following the surgery, I went from 195 pounds and like a muscular 195 to 175 pounds in 2 weeks. So basically, in what feels like overnight, I dropped 20 pounds, most of which is muscle, most of which is everything I've worked hard for the last 5 or 6 years.
Is that like, I'm just thinking in kilograms?
Oh yeah, okay.
Like
so
me, that's like 10 kilos or something like that.
About 10 kilos, maybe
Wow.
kilos. Yeah, I forget that we're but yeah, about 8 or 10 kilos. So
wow.
I mean, that's a lot
2
of weight
days.
when you're 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. Wow.
Yeah. And well, that was from that when I checked myself in until my 2-week follow-up appointment, I had dropped 20 pounds. And I didn't even realize it because I was at my parents' house eating my mom's cooking. I thought, if anything, I'm gaining weight here. And they told me my weight, and I immediately called my mom, and I was like, why didn't you tell me I lost a bunch of weight? And she was like, well, I didn't know. I saw you every day. And, you know, after speaking with a few friends, they're like, yeah, I could see it in your face. I could tell. I could see it in your arms. And I'm thinking, why on earth am I the last person to find out I just lost 20 pounds? So that was a lot for me to handle. And I haven't weighed 175 pounds or, you know, probably 80 kilos since I was 17 years old. So 14 years ago. And so that was very hard. And now, you know, I'm still right around that weight, 175. And the whole mental aspect of that is what I was referring to with the challenge, with the changes my body is undergoing, is that I lost my physique. And that was very hard for me because that was when I walk past a mirror and when I look in the mirror and see my physique, that is, as shallow as it sounds, like that's how I viewed, you know, my masculinity, my hard work, you know, my perseverance, all of that. Like I would look in the mirror and see that. It was kind of like a trophy for everything I've been through and the hard work that I had. And now I'm looking in the mirror and I no longer have that. And that is very hard to stomach, in that, because I always considered that to be a representation of my masculinity. And now I don't have that physique. That was how I identified myself. And now I don't have that. So very tough mental process to, you know, even to stay up with like your sense of self-worth and all of that throughout this entire process. And yeah, I remain grounded with the fact that, hey, what I did was such a noble act that it was far greater than anything a physique or anything like that can do. So that absolutely keeps me grounded. But it's just, it is very tough mentally, losing all of that and not being able to do anything about it. And basically just like coasting through, you know, day after day, week after week, knowing that, all right, someday I'll get back in the gym, but not today. Yeah. And I have to remain like this and trust the process. So very tough right there.
No, honestly, I can totally get that, because, and it's good you brought that up, because things like body image is it's a big deal for a lot of people. Many people look to body image for for a sense of self-worth and self-esteem. And in ladies, it could be, oh, how slim am I? How curvy am I? How beautiful is my hair? How beautiful is my eyebrows? How good is my makeup? You know, and these things can really, really impact on one's self-esteem. And for males, which you've rightly picked on, is how buffed up you are. You know, people go to the gym for this. And for you, you've been in the gym for so long, so many years, you've built up those muscles, and now you've gone through surgery, you've have to deal with losing those muscles, you have to deal with a bikini line. That, I can imagine, would have been a big change. And I, for example, remember how I felt when I went through a tough time many years back, and then went through an episode of depression. And I remember that I put on like 30 kilos all of a sudden in the space of 2 months. And it really, really, really did not make my self-esteem any good. I remember how terrible I felt and was so eager to lose weight. So I can totally relate on that. But there was something you said as well, and it's being able to bring your focus to the good you did. So for anyone that is going through self-esteem issues, for where body image is the issue, what would you say to them? Because let's put it this way, there are people whose goals have taken a different direction because of a life-changing event. For some women, for example, it could be They've had a baby and now they've got this big belly they're trying to deal with. For someone else, it could be health-related issues that have contributed to their, change of body. For some people, it's just their body. Like, their body is different. So everyone else is unique. But some people are really, really not comfortable in their skin. What will you tell them?
Well, I think the first and most important thing, the quickest thing that I realized is what your physical, the way you look physically is not at all a reflection of who you are as a person. So like I said, I went from 195 pounds, like a chiseled, strong 195, where, I'm probably the person that in the gym, other guys that are smaller are probably like, wow, I would love to look like that someday, or, something like that. And then in 2 weeks, basically what feels like overnight, I lost that. Now, nothing about my personality, nothing about who I am changed whatsoever. Yet I feel like a completely different person because I don't have that physique. And it's something where, you look at the people you look up to in the gym, for example, the really strong people, the people that just look like they know what they're doing and all of that. And you're almost intimidated by them because you think that they're like almost like superhuman, but they're not, because overnight they could lose that. And that's not at all who they are and what their values are and all of that. It doesn't change anything about them inside. And that's what I quickly learned was, and I had to wrestle with that myself, was, okay, I look like this different person right now, but I had to keep reminding myself that I have not changed. I am still me. And, that's, you had mentioned too, that, women's bodies, when they change as you with pregnancy and stuff like that, perfect example. And probably one of the most common examples of your body taking, you're heading down a path and you have to take a detour because life says something, life has different plans for you. So whether it's sickness, pregnancy, or something like that, there are going to be times where, while you want this goal so bad, you have to just kind of embrace the road that life is taking you down and make the most out of that situation and shift your focus. And like you mentioned, redirect your goals. And that was exactly it with me. So at the beginning of the year, before I knew that this transplant was happening for sure, one of my New Year's resolutions or goals for the year was that I wanted to lift a certain amount of weight in 3 combined different exercises. I wanted the combined weight that I was lifting to total up to a certain number. And when I went through the surgery and found out that I was going to be removed from the gym for 3 months and all of that, I had to redirect my focus. I had to almost abandon that goal for a little while and accept the fact that I have a different goal now. My goal is recovery and building this foundation so that when I come back and try and come back stronger, that I can do that in a very efficient and optimal manner. So redirecting your focus, you have to be okay with accepting the changes that your body is making if they're out of your control. Now, and I say that with caution because I don't want it to sound like, just, all right, let yourself go, be okay with whatever happens to your body. Because if you have the ability to control it, that's completely different. But, with medical reasons and like we talked about with pregnancy and stuff like that, those are perfect examples of, life's getting in the way and it's out of your control.
Yeah.
Embrace it and move forward and just continue to realize that this is not at all a reflection of who I am.
And I think, just as you picked on, there's a big thing there about sometimes celebrating yourself no matter what, and also about learning to just give up control on what you can't. Because many times part of the issue is we're trying to control everything. And this is something I personally have been trying to work on. It makes it more challenging because you want to control this. You want it to change now. You want it to change now. But as you've highlighted, there's something about sometimes adjusting our mindsets around situations, and I take that on. Let's go back to your fitness journey. Because I know that you're back in the gym now and you're pushing, you're pushing. When did it all start for you? When did fitness? Yeah.
So I've always been an athlete. I grew up in a very small town, very small high school. So it was normal to be like a 3-sport athlete through high school. And I didn't really put any focus on my fitness or health or anything like that. I ate garbage and didn't take care of my body. So I got by as an athlete, but never really like a great athlete. I was very average because I didn't focus on that. And through college, I kind of let myself go in, with just drinking and eating, and I gained a lot of weight in college. My first couple of years, I gained like 50 pounds in college, and that was very hard. And it, for the 4 or 5 years I was in college, it did wonders to my body image and my confidence and all of that. So when I graduated college, I moved to a new state, a new city where I didn't know anybody. And I kind of took that as an opportunity to start fresh, turn over a new leaf. I have all this free time on my hands. I don't know anybody. So I started really teaching myself nutrition and how to make the most of my workouts, and really started focusing on that. And it was a lot of trial and error. It was very, very hard starting out because you know how it is with the internet. There's so much information out there.
So much.
Someone who, wants to do right, wants to turn over a new leaf and make a change. It's like, okay, what information is good? What's bad? What's right? What's wrong?
Mm.
Where do I turn for help? Like, what resources are the right resources to turn to? And I remember that battle. It was just so much trial and error, failure, wanting to quit, actually quitting, several times. So over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, I just kind of persevered through all of that and kind of honed my own nutrition and knowledge for that. Well, as I did that, my passion for health and nutrition continued to grow. And as I continue to find this balance in my life, when I say balance, I'm talking between, eating the foods I love and being able to live the lifestyle of a 30-year-old guy, and also being able to push forward and stay in line with my fitness goals and try and work toward the best shape of my life the right way. So it's so important to find a balance somewhere in the middle there. Comfortable with both. Like, yeah, I understand that I'm not going to progress as fast as I otherwise could, but I'm also enjoying life. I'm also, so I know I can go out on a Friday night and have a couple drinks, or I can go get pizza with my friends, and it's not going to adversely affect me because I found that balance. And I believe that balance is such a great place to be, that I want everybody else to join me in that. Like, I want to teach everybody else how to get there. So over the course of those years, I eventually became like the resident expert for my friends and coworkers when it comes to nutrition. People would come to me and say, hey, can you help me, point me in the right direction with my nutrition? So I almost like a nutrition consultant I wasn't coaching people because there was no follow-up, but I would consult with them and give them direction. And that was kind of how it went for a couple of years. And then I realized, hey, look, I have this passion and this knowledge for nutrition, and I am doing a disservice to myself and to everybody else out there if I don't share that. So I decided that I was going to be a nutrition coach. I was going to start my own business, and I went on about a little over a year ago, started my own business, Josh Pierce Nutrition. And now I do online personal nutrition coaching, where I primarily work with women to help them overcome restrictive eating habits and that whole yo-yo dieting, the trying different diets and just seeing what works, and taking them from that, meeting them where they're at, regardless of what their knowledge about nutrition, meeting them where they're at, and just working through their lifestyle, changing habit by habit, small habits at a time, starting with the lowest hanging fruit, and just working through their entire lifestyle to take them to a place where they can be comfortable with their balance, where they too can eat the foods that they love and enjoy, finally feel the freedom, in being able to eat a piece of cake, or, being able to go out to dinner, or, something like that, without feeling the guilt that's attached to that. And just bring them into this place, this balance that I've found myself. So that's where I am now.
You know, that whole thing around balance is something I want to learn more about, especially as you started talking about diets, because I've done different ones. And I think a lot of women were in that same spot of I've tried, different things and trying not to eat carbs, eat protein, low calorie diets, all sorts. And what you're saying right now is I can still eat pizza, I can still have cake, and I can still lose weight. How does that work?
Absolutely. So this is what I do. And I'm very, very open about what I eat on a regular basis. I would say that 80 to 90% of the time I'm eating by the book, like what I would consider to be whole foods packed with nutritional value. Like I'm prepping my own meals and all of that. I'm making foods that I enjoy, but it's, maybe boring, it's chicken, rice, vegetables, stuff like that most of the time. But that other 10 to 20% of the time, I can eat anything I want. I can eat, I can fit the pizza, the tacos, the ice cream, and all of that. And I'm very open about that. I eat ice cream probably 4 days a week, and I make it fit
Wow.
my nutrition. And it's just creating awareness around how
Mm.
much you're eating of different things and being able to fit those things in your lifestyle. Now, what I believe is that if you create a lifestyle that allows for those foods on occasion in moderation, then you're no longer cheating. If you're on a diet that doesn't allow you to eat ice cream and you want to eat ice cream, and you walk away from that instance in which you ate ice cream, and now you're feeling guilty. You're feeling like you cheated on your diet. You're feeling like, maybe like you're not cut out for this, or that you're not going to see success because you broke the rules. So there's all of this negative emotion attached to that ice cream or that cookie that you just had.
Mm-hmm.
One lousy cookie can leave you feeling so guilty and so worthless. And I believe I founded my coaching on this belief that there should be no negative emotion attached to that food you eat. That cookie is so powerless. Like, you should not let that affect how you feel and your guilt and anything like
And
that.
I just want to interject on that, because I know that was something you said to me, and I quote that a core principle of your dieting approach is no diets, no restrictions, no emotions attached to food. When I am eating something that I know that I personally shouldn't be eating, my emotions are, I shouldn't be eating this. I'm saying it, but I'm eating it. So somehow emotions are attached to what I'm eating. Explain the principle, and how am I meant to take away the emotion from the food? How do we do that?
So if you allow yourself to eat that, if you create a lifestyle or a plan that allows for that flexibility, then there is no cheating, because it's part of the plan. There is no negative emotion, because your day was set up to fit that cookie or that piece of chocolate. No, you're not having an entire package of Oreos or an entire box of cookies. You're having one or two cookies to satisfy your craving, and you're moving on, because that's all it should be. So, the principles on which I founded my coaching is flexible dieting. 80 to 90% of what you're doing should be whole foods packed in nutritional value. Now, that other 10 to 20%, that can be the foods that make you enjoy life, the foods that keep you from feeling like this is a diet, the foods that keep you from feeling like you're restricted, and that make you want to continue with this. Because if I said, hey, 100% of the time you need to eat these whole foods packed in nutritional value and you can't ever have the cookies, one, that's not a lifestyle that you want to live. Now you feel like you're living in this box. You feel like you're back on this diet. Now at some point you're going to have cookies, and then what? And again, the negative emotion and all of that. So if we set ourselves up for success from the beginning by allowing that in small amounts, there's no emotion to be had. And for me, it's I use them in my examples in my content all the time. But for me, it truly is pizza, tacos, and ice cream. If someone told me that I had to give up pizza, tacos, and ice cream to achieve my goals, I would walk away from that situation. I would find a different plan, because there's no way I could see my life without pizza, tacos, and ice cream.
Wow. Wow. I now know what to get you on your birthday.
Yes, all three.
So, like, I mean, I guess this is for anyone. If you know you want to, lose weight and stay healthy without giving up the things you love, Josh is your man. Like, he's the nutrition coach that you want to reach out to. So make sure you do reach out to him on that to help give that balance.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Wow. I want to take a step back to your fitness journey again and when it all started. I think you started about 7 years ago, and you started at a time when you felt like you're not in a great physical or mental state. And I believe that prior to that, 8 years before, you lost your brother. Tell me about that. And did it have an effect on when you started your journey at the time?
So my brother was 2 years younger than me. I was 22 and he was 20. We both went to the same university. We were very close, like best friends. And we had all of the same friends. He used to come over. Like I said, he was 2 years younger than me. So him and his friends used to come over to my house all the time for parties and stuff like that. So we were very, very close. And out of the blue, well, unbeknownst to us, he committed suicide. And
Wow.
died by gunshot, completely out of the blue.
Wow.
I mean, this was a young man who had hundreds of friends, who was always smiling. He was the life of the party. He could get any woman he wanted and all of that. Like, as my younger brother, this was someone who I thought, got the better looks. He was more like, he was funnier. He was just more personable, and he could just like talk to anybody, and see, so these were all things that I know that my brother had that I didn't have as the older brother. And it was, so fast forward, when he committed suicide, that was very tough. And I think the hardest part still to this day is thinking, what was so bad that you couldn't talk to me about? Like, where did I fall short as an older brother, and that you couldn't speak to me about that? And I think that was very hard to deal with at first. So now we're, I'm dealing with why, what was so bad, like why in general, and two, how long had this been going on that we didn't know about it, and three, like I said, what was so bad that you couldn't talk to me about? Like, where did I fall short? Because in an ideal world, hey man, I'm having relationship issues. Can I talk to you about this? Or, I just, maybe it's a self-worth thing or whatever it is. And, we would just be speculating at this point, but that was what was very hard for me. So that took a toll on me mentally.
I can imagine.
My family and I got very close. Now, my sister's 4 years younger than me. And, we were always a close family, but I was always very much closer to my brother, because 2 years apart rather than 4 years. It's my baby sister. But after losing my brother, we all banded together, and it just made us so much tighter and so much closer. And that was a very powerful part of my life. And it's sad that it took that type of event to bring us close like that. But what my family did to move forward and turn that negative into a positive, I think is very, very powerful. And the first summer after he committed suicide in March, and after that summer, he was big into playing softball. So we had a softball tournament, and it just in memory of him. Didn't have any plans to make this like a yearly thing or to do anything bigger, but it went so well, that turnout at that softball tournament, that we decided we were going to start a nonprofit organization, and geared towards suicide awareness and positive mental health, all of that in the local communities. So since then, I mean, since I think it was 2011 or 2012 that we started the foundation, since then we've just continued to grow this foundation, and now we have our flagship annual event is a huge softball. It's a co-ed softball, men's softball, co-ed volleyball tournament every single summer, the same weekend every single summer, in memory of him. All of the proceeds go to suicide awareness and get put back into the local communities for educational programs for the youth, and just positive. We're trying to do so much positive for the communities, to so that other families, so that nobody else has to go through what we went.
Wow, I can imagine that it would have been really tough for you guys, to be tough for anyone. And you see, I guess, you also hit on something when men are concerned, because he may have been struggling and not have been able, maybe he was going through depression and you will not have known, or, and this is the thing with men, because men are more, they're more likely to hide what it is that they're going through.
Yeah.
And men are also twice more likely to commit suicide than women for some of these reasons. And I think sometimes, a lot of times, people don't underestimate what people are going through. And obviously, suicide is one thing people don't want, but it happens. And many people are like, oh, why did he do that? Why did she do that? Why did they? And you don't understand that that person maybe wasn't even thinking the way you are thinking. All they could see is the pain, and it being better, and being better than them being here on earth. And it's tough. What helped you overcome the whole thing? Let me put it that way. How did you, as a family, how did you eventually get over? I know you never forget him, and it's, you have the foundation, which is super. But how has it helped? How, for you personally, how have you been able to move on from it, and how has your family been able to move on from it?
Is hands down the support from the community around me, from my friends. I have the best group of friends, and they surrounded me. Starting with the day of the visitation before the funeral. I mean, well, even before that, they just banded together and surrounded me. And my friends from college, our friends and family, from our local community. And like I mentioned before, I grew up in such a small town. It's a town of 300 people, and where everybody knows everybody. And it brought everybody together, and we had the most support I have ever seen. And that's just something that I'm forever grateful for, because they banded with us when Tyler committed suicide, and they've stuck with us since. They've continued to support us year after year with our foundation's initiatives, on the anniversary of his death, on his birthday. We just get so much support from the people around us. And hands down, it's the support of the people around me.
I think that is really amazing. You see, being Black and African, right? The whole mental health space is, I won't say it's not a new area, but it's a new area that people are now beginning to focus on, right? And a lot of people underestimate mental health. A lot of people underestimate suicide. In fact, if someone commits suicide, it's almost like it is, it's like the unthinkable has happened. It's like people are ashamed. They don't want to talk. They didn't want to talk about the fact that someone is experiencing mental health issues in the first place. Not to talk of suicide. People have all sorts of, and there have been incidents where people have attempted suicide and people have said the wrong things, to them. How was it, like, the community coming out to give the support? Did you as a family feel like shame from it, or did you feel, or how did you feel after it initially?
I mean, getting the support, I mean, we welcomed it with open arms.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And we would have been it would have been horrible to like push that away and shut down. And I think it's easy for some people to do, and to shut down and to kind of push that away. And initially there was a little bit of resentment, and as hard as it is to say and be honest about, there was a little bit of resentment. Like, yeah, this is a cowardly move.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long-term solution for a temporary problem. It's, you're solving your problem, but look at the problems you're creating for everybody who love and care. So there was a lot of that at first, but I think in just maturing and kind of understanding the situation, and that, hey, it was much more than, maybe, one bad day or something like that. He was battling so much that we could never even fault him for it. And I think it just comes back to, you had mentioned that it's almost like taboo to speak of suicide or to speak of mental health and all that kind of thing. And that's how it was for us growing up in a very small town. I remember in high school, if you even say the word suicide in school, like, it's like you're in trouble. Don't talk about it. If someone has mental health issues, they're crazy. You don't associate with them. And that was the mentality growing up. So when we established this foundation, that was our goal, was to get away from that and do away with the stigma that comes with suicide and mental health. And we can get people talking about it, and we can get the schools educating about mental health and suicide and how to recognize symptoms of, depression and stuff like that, and just kind of open up about it and not let this be so taboo. Then we're making huge advancements. Because if it would have been more widely accepted for him to open up about mental health issues, maybe he would have gotten the help he needed, or maybe he would have just been inclined to say something to someone that would have initiated a thought process like, hey, Tyler needs some help. Like, I'm really worried about what he's going through right now. But because it's so taboo, or it was so taboo, can't fault the guy for not opening up about it. I mean, everybody looks at you like you're crazy after that, or, so very tough. And that's what we continue to strive towards, is doing away with that stigma and just getting people to open up about it. Because the more people that are aware of suicide and its effects on everybody around them, I feel like it's just, the cause is much better suited, and we're better able to help the cause.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, just hitting on the points there, as a people, we've got to become more vocal about the issues. We've got to become more understanding. If someone is going through mental health issues or depression, or it's not that they are weak in any way. They are not weak. People are going through stuff, and we've got to create that atmosphere that allows, people be vulnerable with themselves. People talk, and people seek the help that they need. And as a community, we shouldn't be pushing people away. We shouldn't. It's tough. Mental health, there are different types of mental health, fair enough. But, it can be tough for families. It can be tough for individuals. And I think we just need to increase our awareness, which is what your family is doing. And I think that is brilliant. And I think, your brother will love you guys for what you guys are doing, and for keeping his name alive and keeping his the sports that he also loved, alive. I think that is really amazing. And you're using that to bring awareness and understanding around mental health and suicide as well to the community. And I think that is really, really, well, it's a good thing that has come out of it all. So well done to you guys for that. Still on the topic of being vulnerable, I think one thing that I really loved about you and your Instagram post is how vulnerable you are. A lot of men think I shouldn't be vulnerable. A lot of men think they shouldn't be vulnerable. A lot of men think that, it's good to, you've got to keep this manly view. You've got to stay buffed up and, but a lot of times it doesn't help. It doesn't even help the conversations where you need to open up. It doesn't help deepen relationships. It doesn't help bring to surface things that could have been talked about. As a man, what do you think helped you be more vulnerable? And what do you want to say to men who think that they shouldn't be vulnerable? And I'm not having a go here, but it's an important topic. What do you, an important question. What helped you be more vulnerable, and what would you say?
I would, for starters, I would, just want to kind of paint the picture here. I haven't always been vulnerable like that. I haven't always been one to expose a lot of my personal life on my social media and stuff like that. But, a year and a half ago, I would maybe post an Instagram picture once a month. And it was something like me and my friends were out on a boat or something like that. Now, like, I'm posting daily because I'm coaching and I just have so much to say. I've opened up so much, but I would say just putting myself out there with coaching is what helped me become so much more vulnerable, because I'm trying a lot of different things to see what my audience connects with and stuff like that. And I quickly realized that my audience, the people that support me and the people around me, they connect most with me when I'm vulnerable. That's what gets the most connection, the most engagement, and all of that. So that, single-handedly, that's what helped me. Like, that's what pushed me out there and was like, all right, do this. So that being said, I've learned so much about myself and just opening up since then. In the past, I would say the past 6-8 months that I've been, very vulnerable with my social media content and with complete strangers that I engage with you, for example, engaging with complete strangers. And I have no problem divulging my life story, because it does no good for me to keep that to myself. And I've learned over the years that there's so much you can learn from other people's story, from other people's battle and their struggles. I would just say, when it comes to vulnerability, it is so much easier for people to connect with you when you're vulnerable. It shows that you're not immortal. You're not inhuman. You are human. And it just makes it so much easier for a complete stranger to connect with you. And I've found that, like, with my coaching, I don't want to be this immortal. I don't want to be this untouchable person that people are shy and timid to reach out to, because I may know so much more than them, or, I may have this physique or whatever. Like, no, I'm human. I make mistakes. I struggle too. I am in the trenches every single day battling just like you. And I have no problem showing how I am battling. And if that resonates with you, if that's something that you're battling with too, then hey, let's connect. So, I would say to other men out there, there is nothing wrong with being vulnerable. Absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. It does not show weakness. I would say, contrary to that, it shows strength. The fact that you're open, you're willing to talk about this, that you're willing to expose your weaknesses, shows so much strength. And it is not a sign of weakness at all.
Wow, thank you so much, Josh. Being sort of conscious of time and the fact that there's so much that we could also talk about. One thing I try to do through research with Dr. Viv is, helping people bounce back and, grow through adversity with 3 pillars: reset, rediscover, and grow. Because a lot of times, life throws us balls, and it's easy to forget oneself when life gives you certain balls. Before we round up, there are people going through things in life right now, and they need to know that it's okay to not feel okay at those points, and that they will be able to find themselves and get back on their feet. And what mindset do you think has helped you? What mindset will you advise people going through stuff right now to develop as they grow in their bounce back journey?
I would definitely start by saying, and I say this with my coaching clients all of the time, and I wanted to interject earlier on and say this, it's to you at one point. I can't remember what we were talking about, but create as much control as you can in every situation. Now, you can be if you can just get in the habit of creating as much control as you can in every situation, you're going to be just fine. But I think where we get ourselves in trouble is where we start to worry about things we can't control. And when we stress ourselves out about things that are completely out of our control, like me, for example, losing 20 pounds in a matter of, that's something that was completely out of my control. And if I let that stress me out and, burden me, that's significantly affecting my life. And for what? Something I could not have controlled. And I say this with my clients when they're, say you're going away for the weekend and you want to stick to your nutrition plan. Well, you're not going to be perfect through the weekend. There's going to be obstacles. Life's going to get in the way. But if you can get in the habit of creating as much control with each unique individual situation as you can and just moving on from that, you're going to be so much better off. And that is the way that I've found to approach this lifestyle is just on a case-by-case basis. How can I create as much control as possible? What's out of my control? I can do about it.
So take what you can control and let go of what you can't. Absolutely. And know that it is okay.
Absolutely.
Well put, Josh. Thank you so much. Guys, follow Josh on Instagram at Josh Pierce Nutrition. It'll be down below. So please follow him. Remember to also follow me on Instagram at Vivian_Ikem. And don't forget to subscribe as well to the channels. It has been amazing to have you, Josh. You teach us what it means to be human. You teach us what it means to love and love unconditionally. And I guess you challenge us all. And it would be nice to have you again soon at some point.
But all day. I literally, and we could go on for hours about this. Yeah. So I am honored to be on here. Thank you so much for having me on here, Dr. Viv. And if you ever want to chat again, I'd be honored to be on here again, or whatever you want to do. If anybody has any questions about my journey, what I'm doing, about my coaching, about the kidney donation, anything like that, don't be a stranger. Reach out. I absolutely love connecting with new people. And anytime I can share my story, my journey, my knowledge, my passion, anything like that, anytime I can share that to positively impact someone else, I am 100% for it. So don't feel like it's a burden to bother me in my DMs or anything like that. No, message me. I love connecting.
You are great. You are great with the DMs, I have to say.
I love it. That's like my favorite part about this whole, this newfound lifestyle with coaching is I'm connecting with strangers every day. And I love it. Connecting with like-minded people and hearing other people's journeys and connecting with people on similar journeys, connecting with people on completely different journeys. There's just so much power in connecting with as many people as possible. And who would have ever thought that we would be sitting here on this podcast right now? You're in the UK. I'm in Florida. We're, thousands of miles apart, completely different time zones. We're, what are you, 6, 7, 8 hours ahead? It's, who would have thought we would be in this situation? And now I've got a long-term friend, I've got
exactly.
And likewise you to me. So there is so much power in just connecting with new people. So don't be a stranger. Reach out if you have any questions. I'm glad to chat.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Josh. Well, guys, that is it from me today and from Josh. Until next time, take care, stay well, and God bless.